Is renting instead of buying a home really a good idea? In this video, we discuss whether it's better to rent or buy the property that you live in, and why we think that for most millennials, renting is almost always the better option. But we'll also include some benefits of owning your own home, and by the end of this video, you'll be able to determine whether renting or buying is the right choice for you. I know a lot of you might be thinking that I'll be renting for sure because I don't have the money to buy a home yet, but maybe this is more for people who are in their late 20s or early 30s and thinking about buying a home. If you're still in your early 20s and you're not in a financial position to purchase a home, this video will help you prepare on what to expect when you go in to buy a home, and also when you should start considering buying a home. If you stay till the end of the video, I'll tell you a personal story about my views on home ownership and how I changed my mind. So let's get into the video. Cha-ching! Buying your first home seems to be a financial milestone for most people. It's almost as if in our culture, buying your first property is a sign that you've made it. There's always that one friend or relative at a social event that is telling you all about how he or she bought his first property.
So, when are you getting yours?
And you always hear the argument about how renting is just a waste of money.
What's the point of paying 1,500 ringgit in rent if you can just pay a little bit more on a mortgage and own that property?
That's technically true, but most people don't count the real cost of home ownership that renters don't experience. When you buy a property, besides your mortgage, you'd probably have to pay for things like property taxes, renovation or repair costs, property insurance, and there are many other hidden costs. Let us know down in the comments if you would like us to do a video on the actual cost of owning a property, what are the benefits of owning your own property, and in what situation it could be a good idea. Back to the topic of renting. Here are 3 reasons why it's better to rent than to buy a home. First, you get to experience new and different homes. In KL or in any big city, new houses and apartments are being built more and more every year. On top of that, more homes are being built with ready access to public transport. We've lived in places where it was walking distance to MRT or LRT stations before, and it was extremely convenient. Malls like Wanutama and Pavilion were so accessible, and we didn't have to go through that painstaking experience of waiting in traffic. Renting gives us the opportunity to live in homes that are more relevant due to rising infrastructure. And there are affordable places that you can rent that are also close to public transport. Because we're developing so fast, more and more places are opening up to public transport routes, and therefore the supply of homes close to these routes are growing. If the home you ended up renting turns out to be run down, or if maintenance starts to wither away in a few years, or maybe if you don't like the sound of the highway next to your bedroom keeping you up all night, just as easily as you moved in, you can easily move out and go on to the next place. The abundance in supply of these residential properties means that you wouldn't have to worry about shortage in homes. Yes, the moving can be a painful experience, but we haven't started our own family, we don't have a lot of furniture, and so moving won't be that difficult. Hit a like on this video if you follow financial minimalism, because we think that it's super beneficial. So if we don't like the home we rented, we just pack up our bags and find a new place. Number 2, buying a home restricts you to a specific location. As a young person, the opportunities out there are endless. Most of us won't be working in the same company for 30 years. This was much more common in our parents' era. Today, cities that are not usually known as urban areas can be the next hotspot very quick. This means that our options to find a new home to rent can be plentiful in the future. Renting gives us the flexibility to move to a new area if the opportunity arises. For example, a new job. Imagine getting a job offer from a really great company you want to work with, but you're being held back because you own a mortgage in a certain location. So we would much rather have the option and the flexibility to move out whenever we want without having to worry about paying down a mortgage. A mortgage usually lasts between 15 to 30 years. That's 15 to 30 years of paying down a loan and being stuck to a certain location. Of course, you can always rent out the home that you own and live in a place where you rent, but then you have to take an extra step in finding somebody who wants to rent your home, preferably at a rate that won't lose you money. Who knows? Maybe in the near future, areas outside of Penang, KL, and Johor will open up to big companies to set up and provide great career opportunities. And maybe your career even takes you overseas. You'd feel really bad if you couldn't take that overseas job that you really wanted just because you're tied down to a mortgage here. Number 3, we're not really a big fan of property investments. Now this can be quite controversial. A point that is always made is that houses are an investment and the prices always go up, right? Well, it depends. A lot of people don't take into the account the opportunity cost of buying a property. The mortgage payment that you make every month could easily be put into another investment vehicle that could give you the same or even better returns. We always hear advice that property and houses always go up in prices. While that's true, there are also other investments that always go up in price, like stocks. Now, of course, there are exceptions to these rules, but we almost always prefer stocks over properties because of one simple reason: liquidity. Stocks are way more liquid than properties. Liquidity is how fast you can get your money back if you decide to sell your investment. And this is one of the most important things we consider when making an investment. If you own a piece of a company or a stock, and if you decide that that company is no longer performing the way you like, or you just don't want to be involved in the business anymore, you could easily just sell off your stock and you can have your money back. If you decide to sell off your property because you don't want it anymore, then there are tedious processes that you need to take before you can actually get your money back. You have to list your property, you have to get an agent, you have to get an inspection, and you have to pay a fee. Then you have to wait for someone, the right person, to buy your property at the price you want. If there is no demand for your property, you might have to end up selling it at a lower price than you bought it for. This could happen in stocks too. Sometimes you want to sell a stock, but nobody wants to buy it, or the price is lower than what you bought it for. But stocks are usually more liquid and you could always dispose of them more quickly than properties. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not ruling out the idea of property investing completely. If you know what you're doing, it's possible to make a lot of money through it. To me though, the effort and the process required is not just something that I want to dive into right now.
You know what, TMF? I don't trust you. I love properties and I want to invest in them.
Well, we don't bring up problems without also bringing up solutions. For those who are keen to get started investing in real estate but don't want the cons that come with them, there's always real estate investment trusts, or REITs. REITs are like index funds for properties, giving you partial ownership of income-generating real estate across several property sectors. For example, buying the Pavilion REIT gives you ownership to Pavilion Mall, Pavilion Tower, Damen Mall, and Intermark Mall, all for less than 2 ringgit a share. The best thing about REITs is that they're usually stable in price and they usually give great dividends of about 5 to 7%. They're also publicly traded, which means that you can always buy and sell them very easily, which makes them more liquid. So at this point in our lives, we don't really see the need to rush into buying our first home yet. We could be completely wrong and home prices start to skyrocket and we no longer have an opportunity to buy a home. But the pros outweigh the cons to us in this scenario. Technology has made renting a much more viable option and you can find places to rent through apps like iProperty or Speed Home. Now, we're not saying that this is a straight path that everyone should follow. Buying a house and raising a family in it is not wrong. Not everything has to be an investment. If we were at a different stage in our lives, maybe we would have a different point of view. This video is just to share an opinion that opposes an idea which seems to be more cultural than it is rational. Rather than being pressured into purchasing something that is not financially beneficial to us, why don't we take a step back and reassess? So, I promise that if you stay till the end of the video, I would share my personal opinion and experience in home ownership. Now, I must admit, I once thought that owning my own home for my family and I was a financial achievement and a sign that I've made it. I don't know if this is because I've been exposed to the idea that owning a property is a symbol for financial success over time, or if I genuinely like the idea of owning my own home when I'm young for whatever reason. But after starting this channel and learning more about personal finance and our attitude towards it, I've gained a different perspective and I now think that I should rent as long as I can. So that's it from me. If you haven't already, give us a like and subscribe to the channel down below so you don't miss our videos every week. We'll see you in the next video.